Senator Begich.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate it. Let me, General Schwartz, we've had a lot of good discussions. First, I want to thank you for coming up to Alaska regarding Eielson and trying to understand and help the people of Alaska understand what the intent of the Air Force is and the process of the Air Force. But here's my struggle, and I continue to struggle. First, in your analysis, the savings that occur, or the analysis that says here's how much savings will occur, are put into the budget, and then it's analyzed for us all to look at. But as we both know, you're just now sending up the on-site team, I think it's going to be the second or third week of April, to actually do the full analysis. Here's my struggle, that we know, based on your statements, there are savings that need to be achieved in the budget. We understand that, both to the Secretary in general. But the problem is, you're now starting to do the full analysis to understand what the savings are. I understand you did tabletop, but you know, what goes on in the Pentagon and what's real are sometimes very different on the ground. And so I'm trying to understand how you get to these savings. And I guess the question I have is, first, do you have, and we received a letter recently with some information, but do you have a detailed analysis that you utilize to determine the savings that would be achieved by the Air Force, both to the Secretary or to General Schwartz, in this regard of Eielson? Why I'm going to use Eielson, because my worry is there's 40-some other states that are being affected of other types of reductions. And if you're now just going through this process of really fully doing on-the-ground analysis, how are we to make a decision when markup is occurring in short order here? Who wants to answer that? I don't know which.
Well, Senator, certainly we have programmed and budgeted for operations at Eielson as we do for other bases and units, and we understand generally the costs of operations for the infrastructure, for the personnel, for the aircraft, and that is programmed. And so if we make force structure adjustments that move or reduce, we have a pretty good handle on what the personnel, flying hour, force structure, operational impacts are, and those numbers are used as the basis for our decisions.
Let me follow up on that. In the report that I saw, you're going to achieve savings in the base support of Eielson beginning in 15. But you're starting the process now. And so I guess I want to ask two parts. We've heard some numbers in regards to personnel, and I want to dice this a little bit because I'm concerned the process you're going through. This is the exact same debate we had when BRAC occurred several years ago, this exact same debate. But we're not going through a BRAC process now. What you're going through is a realignment, exactly the same debate. And so my concern now is this a process to kind of go around the loop? And why I want you to dice the personnel issue, you have uniform personnel and you have civilian personnel. Can you tell me now what you anticipate the civilian reduction will be for Eielson? Whoever wants to answer this.
The total reduction of personnel is about 660, based on reconfiguring Eielson to a support base rather than its current full-up configuration. And I don't recall specifically the split between military and civilian, and we'll provide that for the record, Senator.
Okay. Let me pause you there, General. This is a question we've asked in our meeting down in the Visitor Center. We've had it out in Alaska. We've asked in writing. This is the fourth then request. And why I ask this is because it's critical on the civilian piece, because under BRAC there's special requirements when you start touching civilian employees and the quantity under the law. And so the question I would have is, that number is critical, and for that not to be supplied to us is problematic as we're going through this markup.
And that's why it was a 15 target, sir, and the result of which will be confirmed by the site survey that occurs next month.
I know, but here's the challenge, General. We're starting I went through this with missile defense. They always talk about the year we're in. The decisions we make here at the markup have long-term impacts to the military deployment of services, doesn't matter if it's Air Force, Army, whatever. And so for us to be in a narrow window is unacceptable. In other words, you should be able to say to me, in 13, here's what it's going to be, 14, it's going to be this, 15, it's going to be this, 16, it's going to be this. Because in order for you to make this decision that you brought to us, I'm assuming someone in the Pentagon had these discussions. So it shouldn't be new information. It should be readily available like that. Because you're making, anything you do in the DOD is long-term. Everything we do here, even though it seems like it's a one-year pain in the neck at times because it's a short-term process, it creates long-term implications. So that's what I want to know, because if you're saying to me in this narrow window, yes, nothing touched in 13, civilian, that's an unacceptable excuse. Because what we do here will affect civilian employees in 15, in 16, in 17, or I'm not even sure because I don't know that, but that's what you stated. So you get my point there?
I do, sir.
Okay. Secretary, do you understand what I'm referring to?
I do, and we'll do the best we can to get you the numbers available on the timeline you need them.
I'm looking not the best. I'm expecting an answer because we have to make these decisions, and it's very difficult. You know, I'm a huge supporter of the military, but when I hear that the decision has been made on what it will say, but now we have teams going up there to determine it, if I was any other senator, I'd be asking the exact same question from their own home states, because if the analysis is now being started for our state, are we just the anomaly? Are we the unique state? My bet is no. I'm assuming it's happened in other states. But so I expect that. The other thing, I know a month ago our team was up there. We still have requests that are still due that we still have not received. So I would hope that you would get that to us. It's critical. And then the last thing, if I can just tag on one item on the tankers, just a question, because I want clarification on this. And that is, you called it, I got to remember the phrase you used, but you have ceiling and you have bid. Or are they the same?
They are not. It's target and ceiling are the
Okay.
terms.
What do you budget for?
The ceiling.
Okay, so in your budgets, if I'm just going to use a hypothetical, if the tanker is $1 ceiling and it was bid at 50 cents, you really budget for the dollar, correct?
I believe we're covered for that.
Believe or yes?
Let
Okay,
me-
confirm
let me-
that, 'cause
let me
you see the
confirm that.
difference.
I do. I
Okay.
do. I understand.
Okay,
Understand.
and I'll leave it at that, because I think that's where one member was trying to get to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to extend a little bit there.